Hello, hello. I am live. Yeah. I see myself, which is good. Yeah, let's start. It's a relaxed Thursday here for me, and good morning, and good afternoon, good evening, based on wherever you are joining us from. And welcome to Code It Live. This is our channel where we do a bunch of things throughout the week. You see me doing CMS on Mondays, Tuesdays. Well, Mondays we also do a podcast. Tuesdays we do Unity. Wednesdays are for React and UI. And Thursdays are, which is today, is for Xamarin and XAML and .NET technologies. And Friday we kind of relax at the end of the week with a little bit of a chat show. So come and join us whenever your time permits. All right, so my name is Sam Basu. I am a dev advocate. Excuse me, here at Progress Software. And yeah, I come from a long .NET background, and I do lots of different things. I do desktop, I do mobile. I have spent quite a bit of time with Xamarin technologies, and that's kind of where I want to dive into where some of the visual UI stack in .NET is probably heading. With .NET MAUI. So I'm going to start here. So build 2020, likely most of us tuned in, and I'm going to learn this thing with you, so bear with me today. Scott Hunter put out this this post on where things are headed in .NET MAUI, which is obviously a new cross-platform solution for XAML and .NET technologies to go build apps for iOS and Android, Windows, and Mac. And this is exciting because this is the evolution of what we know forever as Xamarin.Forms. But it's also interesting in the way... Ooh, I get a green screen. That's not good. I can give it a quick reboot. Bear with me. Hang on. All right. Come back. It's just a matter of unplugging and plugging one sometimes. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so with .NET MAUI, the goal is to sort of open up the funnel because Xamarin.Forms developers, I think, come from a certain type of background, which is a lot of like C# and XAML. And that's what we're used to, but we may have created ourselves sort of like a walled garden because like once we are in it, we have the tools, we have the rich ecosystem, but we are not inviting others to join. So I think the goal with .NET MAUI is to provide a few options as to how we can build this UI that is cross-platform, and not just with .NET, not just with XAML, but bring in a few more things. Why is the green screen happening again? That's no good. All right, hang on. I'm going to give it a real big reboot and unplug completely. from my desktop. All right. Okay, hopefully it stays with me after this reboot. Sorry about that. But like I was saying, with Maui, I think the goal is to have a few options as to how we render the UI for these cross-platform apps. And MVVM is a design pattern, and this is what we have been used to as XAML and as C# devs forever. This is what we do for WPF, for UWP, for Silverlight, for Xamarin.Forms. It's all the same. The design pattern is the same. You have some markup that's in XAML, and then we have bindings that tie in to objects that are living in your code. And then you have two-way data binding. So you can keep on doing that. We can keep on doing that once .NET MAUI comes along with .NET 6, which is in November 2021. That's when it'll be production ready. But I think we're going to start seeing like previews later this year. Now, the other thing they are trying to do, one other thing was Blazor, which is a different thing, which, I mean, we have talked about that in a few of our streams here. The Blazor mobile bindings, which is using the Blazor syntax, the Razor syntax to render UI that is native. It is literally running on top of Xamarin.Forms. It's just the way we rendered the UI is different. But this other thing is exciting. This is the MVU design pattern, which is the model, view, and update design pattern. And this is becoming popular with a few other programming languages. Let me turn my music down a little bit. So I don't know if anybody does Elm, but this kind of started with Elm, the whole MVU pattern, and it's gotten some traction. And this is all coming from a library called Comet, which we'll kind of dive into as we start looking into this. But I want to learn kind of some of the basics, and this is a little controversial because keep in mind, like, MVU is a design pattern, right? And just like any other design pattern, I think it's open to a little bit of interpretation. There are some hardline followers, purists of how they perceive the design pattern to work out. And then there are things that are on the edge cases, and I think we are seeing a little bit of that here. So we'll dive into this code a little bit in a while. But one of the things that is linked in this article here is one of the best blog posts that I've seen that describe what the MVU design pattern is by this gentleman, Thomas Band, and it points to his blog directly. So this is the one, and this is something that was written up in February of this year. And it is just a wonderful explanation of what the MVU design pattern is. Like I said, it started with Elm, and it is very much functional in the way it thinks. And I mean, there are some things here written up that say a lot of Elm developers didn't even know that they were doing this pattern. It just naturally fit the way web apps were being written in Elm. So I'm going to read through maybe just a little bit of this stuff because everybody likes to build like a counter, like a click counter. That's kind of our hello world. So Thomas is of the opinion that for a program to really be MVU, there are some attributes, there are some key elements to this design pattern. So one is a program. So a program is kind of a view model. It is seen as like the smallest possible autonomous unit that can be executed. So that's a program, yes. So that's possibly the entry point for your app to kind of kickstart and run that little program. In other architectures like MVVM, a model is, what we always say with a model in MVVM, that's your data. That's what is bound to your database layer or your web services stack. That is a representation of your data. Could be mutable, could be not, but that's what you want to drive your data updates from, and you want to receive updates back from the UI. So that's your data or services. But in this case, in MVU, a model is more of a state, right? At what is the state of your current program's execution? That is essentially what the model is. So it's more reflective of how the program is executing rather than just the data that is driving the program itself. Now then there's the command, which is, I think, similar to what we know in MVVM. It's a thing that can be invoked and it performs an action. Then there's a message, is the glue that holds it all together, in particular defines the update function. Now these are the two things that are, I think, a little hardcore. So there should be an init function, which is where the program starts. It creates the first version of our model. So see how right away they're saying the version of the model is important, because the model keeps updating, as compared to MVVM, where you could have the view updating. You could have the view model doing things on the view, and unless it deals with data updates, you're not going to update the model. But here, the model constantly keeps updating because it's what's driving the view directly. Then there's an update function, is the only place that directly manipulates your model. So this is important for MVU. So there has to be an update function, which is where whatever the user does is the only place where that gets updated in the model itself. But different from other approaches, it never mutates, but it instead creates an updated copy of the model. And then the view function is responsible for the most MVU implementations. So that's the crux of it. And then he has an example on like a counter type thing. You can see there is like there's an init somewhere. Yeah, so this is an init, and then there is an update, and so on. So this was the crux of it, of what MVU is. And I mean, there are more explanations. There are a lot more blog posts on what this is. But this is important. This unidirectional data flow is important. Unlike MVVM, we are truly doing unidirectional data flow, but it's not what it sounds like. It's not like if you have an object and if you have a UI and you bind it and it's only just one-way data flow. It does update the model back. So you're essentially bypassing a step, so to speak, or just changing the way how we think about it. So you have the model, which is the current application state, and that state gets passed down to the view, which is the rendered UI. And then anything that happens in the view, you send a message up, and then you have an update method that directly updates the model, creates a copy of it, and so it just keeps the state of it evolving over the execution or the runtime of the program. So that's what this thing is, and that was Thomas's take, which I think is accurate, and it's a purist state or a purist like frame of mind as to how you think about this. But then Microsoft came out at Build and said, let's do MVU using this Comet way, which is coming from a very smart mind. This is Clancy, who works over with the Xamarin team at Microsoft, and he's got this thing called Comet, which is an open source framework, which we'll dive into. And he is using the same like model view update pattern. So you have a model, you have a state that's passed down to the view, and then you have bindings and commands, and then you have an update that updates the state of the model. So he's got the right exact idea, except it's not as purist in the way this works. So when this came out, and I think like this is starting to be the foundation of how Microsoft is thinking about doing MVU in .NET MAUI in Xamarin.Forms. So this is all on top of Xamarin.Forms. It's an evolution. But then Thomas came out. I looked around his other articles, and he came out with this post right after Build to say, Yeah, this is not really MVU, and I get it. I get what he's saying because it's violating a few of the like 5 rules that I just read out. So there is no init function, there is no update function, there are no messages, there are no commands. The state is being mutated, which is probably the biggest crime of them all, because you're not keeping the state around. You are really updating the model and you're mutating the state. But again, just differences in opinion here probably between a purist implementation and probably something that's a little more functional and real world. So again, we can argue about this all day. So I think there are other frameworks. Maybe I think Flutter does a similar thing, maybe React Native in a way as well. There are other frameworks that do MVU, and it's a similar thing that they're doing here with .NET and C#. So let's dive into this one, and I want to I played with it just a little bit. I want to dive a little bit deeper and see what's going on. Why did my music completely stop? I need something to code. Hang on. There you go. It's too loud. There. All right. Chat room, you're quiet today. Yeah, let me know if you have any thoughts. Let's dive into Comet, and I'm going to start with something that I had before, and then we'll probably restart the clock and see exactly how Clancy wanted to do things. So I'm going to come down here into a Visual Studio project. This is Comet, and this is running on top of Xamarin.Forms. So I just want to show you what I had working, and then we're going to start from scratch again and see what are some of the options, how else can we build the UI. So this one here is, you'll notice that this is the standard shared project. You have Android and you have iOS for Xamarin.Forms, and then all you have in this standard project is just one main page.cs. That's the program. So a lot of things are being hidden from us right away. There is no init. There is no like program like startup per se. So I think the framework is doing some of that and just handling off to Xamarin.Forms to render the UI. Because it is running on top of Xamarin.Forms. Just the way we render the visual tree is different. So here we have the view, which it's the Comet view, but I would bet that it inherits from the content view in Xamarin.Forms. So we have a main page, and this is the state, which is essentially the model, the state of execution of this program. And then we have a body, which essentially defines the visual tree, and inside the body we can put whatever we want. So this one here is a looks like VStack is for vertical stack. So we can put a text, we can put a button. So I'm going to run this to make sure this still runs, and I think I might want to revisit how I got this to this far, because there were some challenges. So let me try this. So this is the iOS project is set to be my startup project. So the iOS simulator comes up. All right, so the text is just the text. The value is what we're showing, the count, value 0. Oh yeah, great. Visual Studio, I don't want to update right now. Thank you. When I hit the increment button, you can obviously see the increment counter goes up. The way this is working is when you hit the button, this is the delegate that says go and increment the value of that count property, or the variable, and then that value is obviously bound to the value of the text that's displayed here. So that's how it works. So fairly simple, but there are things in here that are not truly MVU, and that's understandable, but I think this may be close to something that a Xamarin or a web developer can work with really quickly. I think the speed in which somebody can just get in and get up and running with this, I think is important, and this is fairly obvious what they're doing here. So I don't know if this will be essentially the way this will work. Oh, green screen again. Today, this is not being my friend. So you know what's going on here. I'm showing you my desktop through a video capture card, and the capture card is going to sleep over and over again, which is not good, but it's an easy fix. Just have to give it a reboot and it comes back. All right, don't die again, please, capture card. Just stay with me. Okay, so let's stop this, and I want to go back into how this one was being done. And obviously, hot reload is something Comet is saying they will support. I think eventually the goal, once .NET MAUI comes out, is to have just Visual Studio Code support, because always Xamarin.Forms has been something we do in Visual Studio on Windows or Visual Studio for Mac, but I think VS Code support will be nice, and we can essentially put something in the app delegate that does that, and then we can go into how we manipulate the state. So let's look a little bit more. So getting started with Comet. So platform agnostic UI toolkit, yes, of course. Programming pattern, Visual Studio Code, .NET Core, iOS, Android. These are some of the requisites that you need to have. I don't think the oh, there is a template, .NET CLI template. Do I have it? Let's get my terminal up. Alright, so I'm going to go into this folder that I like to keep my stuff in, and let's do .NET New, Comet. I do not have it. Okay, well, let's get it. Copy paste, right? .NET New, Comet templates, multi-platform. Okay, so now we have Comet right up here. So it's just .NET New Comet is what we would have to do, and looks like time to write write the Comet. Sure. Okay, I can create a project. Let's just write the Comet. So .NET New. What's N? Is it new? Or I would normally do O for an output, but alright, write the Comet. Alright, so the template did spit out whatever we needed in the program. Then we can open up code. I can do that too, actually. So I do have, well, shouldn't we just go to it first? I do have Visual Studio Code in my environment variable, so it should pull up Visual Studio Code. Yay! Alright, great. Let's do a .NET restore. Alright, so I think yeah, we just did a restore. Alright, go away. So I think yeah, so I think this is exactly what I was running into. So although we just used .NET CLI to spit out this project, and we got started with .NET Core, I think the project setup, like if you look at what Visual Studio Code pulled up here, this is looking very much like like a Xamarin.Forms project. Like that's my shared repository. Then I have iOS, Android, and a solution file. And I think if I just did a .NET build, and if I tried running it like from .NET CLI, like .NET Run, I think I was gonna have I was having issues, and I don't know if that's fixed or not, because it very much sounds like a Xamarin.Forms project which works with MS Build as compared to .NET Build. So I think, I don't know if this is new, but Looks like you need to run this targeting both projects, library and iOS by running it. Okay. You know what? This is great, but I think the Visual Studio Code support is just not there yet for Xamarin.Forms. So I might actually open this up in Visual Studio like regular VS for Mac, because I know I can launch simulators from right up there. So let's actually go to this. And what did I do? I did a CLI folder and then write the Comet. And there's my solution. So I can just open this up, double click. I don't think I need the terminal anymore. So we'll wait for that to come up. It's restoring packages. Okay, it's done. All right, so it started out with iOS as a starter project, which I like. Yeah, that's fine. Project build. Let's look at the dependencies here. So it's got NuGet, so one for Comet, one for Reload, and Xamarin Essentials. I am guessing that the Comet thing actually has Xamarin.Forms as a dependency. Looks like there are new updates being pushed out. Let me see if this builds first, and then we can actually go and do an update and see what changed. Okay, it built. Okay, now will it run? Because all it has in the main page.cs should be the same thing that we saw. This is just boilerplate what's being thrown out. So let's run this again. Oh, that's funny. It built first and then it said unable to copy file DLL to .NET standard mono. What? Alright, how about we close it once and give Visual Studio one more chance to do this right. If not, we'll go back to the other project, which I mean also does not have any custom code. Maybe I should need, or I should update the NuGet packages. Should not matter because that's what it's throwing out as the latest template. Does it build? See, it builds, but it doesn't run. Now it's doing something. Well, that's funny. It did not run the first time around, but I think Visual Studio just fixed itself. Okay, so it is working. Good, 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 good. So we don't have to update the NuGets right now. Okay, so I want to see exactly how or what else we can do, because one of the downsides, one of the things that people are not liking about this, maybe one of the complaints I've heard is this gets a little verbose, which, I mean, you're not going to escape that no matter how you do it. Like XAML gets pretty verbose. Like if you look at a big chunk of XAML that's defining a full UI page in Xamarin.Forms, that's pretty verbose. So I think we are just getting used to getting C# support and IntelliSense to be able to define the UI much more elegantly with IntelliSense. I mean, not that we don't get IntelliSense in XAML, but it's just a little better, I think, with C# in terms of all the properties being exposed correctly. So let's take a look as to what this can do. So one of the things I think Clancy did was, there's a video here which is going to YouTube. Well, loud music. Okay, so I think what's been done here is Clancy's building out this UI like very quickly. It's like a credit card UI, but maybe we should stop because there are some things he's doing here. So notice how this looks like a state, like the credit card state is being done. Then we have VStack. So I'm guessing like when we say VStack, it's the XAML stack layout with a vertical layout rendering. So I'm guessing there might be like an H stack. So there's a shape view, which is like this rounded rectangle thing. Right, and padding properties work. Text, more text. All right, what else? Oh, there, right there. There's an H stack, so which is I think like the horizontal stacking. Okay, I think that's enough. Let's go back and take a look. Music too loud. All right, stay there. Okay, so first up, let's see. I'm gonna go back a little bit. How is padding being done? Spacing just becomes, what is spacing as compared to, I think that's like the margin compared to what padding is. So if I, oh, look at that. I do get IntelliSense as I'm typing. Okay, there's H stack right there. A lot of them are probably coming from .NET itself, but I'm guessing some of them are coming from Comet. Lots and lots of properties. Good, good, good. Okay, so spacing 20. Also, like, what is, hang on. Yeah, that's all you should need to do. Body, your body. So also the one thing I noticed is like if I run this, why is it centered by default? Because like in XAML, we would have to do things like vertical layout and then the horizontal thing, we have to center everything and make sure it's like fill and expand. Is it doing it by default? See, now it again complains about the same error. So this is all experimental, so I think Visual Studio is really getting tripped up. So why don't we close and open again? Okay. Okay. So the spacing here really did not make a difference because I think it's centered by default. So I have a text and a button and they all show up like right next, like right and like centered. So let's change up a few things here. So inside of stack, can I do a new H stack? And okay. So text, if I, what is the syntax here? I'm guessing if I just do this, that's the first property it takes. Let me see. Let's let's keep this open so we can take a look at some of the code. No, not that. This is the one I want. Yeah, you can just like new up a text and just do hello world just like that. So that should work. Am I not supposed to close to the semicolon? No, that should work. Text field, time zone. Oh, this is interesting. Some of the... Oh no, this is just UI. I was thinking like, oh, that's iOS specific stuff, but no. URI. Alright. What's the text field? What if I just did that? Oh yeah? What is... Oh, it doesn't like these things at all? Okay. Hey, Ivana in the chat room, good to see you. Yeah, I'm lonely today. I'm kidding. I'm good, I'm learning. Alright, so it's funny, like it actually does not like the semicolons, and it complains visibly that you should not have it. Maybe the semicolon is to end like the body, but inside like a stack layout it doesn't need any of that. So let's see if this will run. Yeah, okay. Well, the text field never showed up because we didn't give it anything. Okay, so we don't know if this thing is actually working. So let's split it up just to see if a horizontal stack will work. What am I doing right now? I am trying to learn. So this is Xamarin.Forms essentially, but with a new way of doing things that's not yet production ready. So this is all experimental bits. It's a new way of rendering the UI for our apps. This is coming next year, but we are playing with it because it's exciting. And since it is so new, Visual Studio is getting all confused. So let's get it again and we can restart. Write the Comet, that's the name of our project. It's a funny thing that actually Clancy has picked up. That's a funny name for, well, Comet, and then the project structure calling it Write the Comet. Okay, so let's see if this horizontal stack will actually work. Yeah, Ivana, I don't know if it's pretty cool, but it's definitely different. It's a different way of thinking about how we write the UI, because if you have seen me write any code for Xamarin, this is not the way. This is how a web developer would normally do it. But it is working. So a horizontal stack works and a vertical stack also works. So that's good. That is good. What else can we do? So let's go back to his YouTube video. So there's a shape view. There's text. We played with text. And I think all of these things are pretty much wrappers over Xamarin.Forms, and all of these properties are properties of each of the UI elements that come with Xamarin.Forms out of the box. Okay, so I mean this view essentially, let me take a look at this view and see. So this is coming from Comet, obviously. but does it actually implement the Xamarin.Forms content view? Or maybe not, because it doesn't have hash set view parent. It does have the navigation thing built in. Will update view. Contextual object, what is that? Oh, now I can't navigate because I'm already inside of the Comet DLL. Okay, well, I'm guessing like they're not like rediscovering the whole wheel, and it is Xamarin.Forms under the covers. It's just there has to be binding somewhere that it's rendering the corresponding views and view elements in Xamarin.Forms. Oh, let's try the thing that was mentioned that we did not see. So, getting started, hot reload. Yeah, so hot reload is included by default. The setup is very easy. A visitor extension and a NuGet, download both. And then I think I have hot reload for Xamarin.Forms. VS extension from releases, then add it to your app delegate file. Oh, so this is init. Or is it the init the same as the MVU init? I think this is like the entry point. Let me take a look. What is being done here? Because like there's no other code here in the shared project. So let's look at app delegate, which is the iOS specific way of entering. So in when we do Xamarin.Forms, we are essentially doing stuff in app delegate, which does an init on Xamarin.Forms, and then we let Xamarin.Forms render all the UI. So in here, we have a UI window, which is a very iOS specific thing, and oh, right there, reload init. But this is the thing for hot reload. So is it built in? Let me take a look at my properties and let's see if there is anything for hot reload specific. Hot reload enable. So I have the bits. Does it actually work? Oh, not sure why the text went so small on me. Maybe just got the defaults. Alright, so if I keep this running, and I think I'll have to go in here, run with debugging. Okay, let me try. Let's grab Visual Studio, make it smaller. I saved it. Nope. Alright. It's not important. I think, I mean, it may need just more things. Alright. And again, like the whole thing is experimental, so I don't blame for like something as minor as hot reload not working. But apparently when we obviously do bring this into the Xamarin stack and this becomes .NET MAUI, you can fully expect hot reload to work. But right now, unless I have anything missing, I don't see hot reload working on this one here yet, but that's fine. Let's look at other stuff. What else can we do? So what is this comma doing here? Like expecting something else? Can I take it off? Save. Yeah, okay. Let's maybe build things out of this. New. Oh wait, it really is picky about like the continuation, so everything is a continuation. All right, new shape view. What was it that Clancy did? So you can do a shape view, new rectangle. All right. Rectangle. Is that it? So if you don't have any more properties to add, you can just end things right here. I can say dot fill. Now what is it? It's oh, it's a property on the rectangle itself, not on this one. I get that. Dot fill, yeah, and then it takes a color. No. Actually, we would say color whatever, right? Color dot, there you go. And then this is the closing for the rounded rectangle. So we are inserting a shape view right under this button. Does that work? Stop. Where's my simulator? There you go. No, so this is where Visual Studio gets confused again and again on the same line. It's just not loading up some DLLs. Alright, we can easy fix. Oh wait, I didn't want to close that file. I wanted to close Visual Studio entirely and then bring it up again. Early days. Let's not blame Visual Studio. Experimental projects. Alright. And we ran main page.cs. Alright, so one horizontal stack and then everything else is vertically stacked. I wonder if there's going to be like a grid. Hey, good to see you in the chat room. Good to see you, Joe. Yep, I am struggling with code, as is my normal mode. Well, I mean, this is very new, very experimental, so that's all right. This is MVU Pattern, sort of like a very opinionated implementation of the MVU pattern. We started off the talk, I mean, if folks are just joining us, this is where I was trying to learn. So Microsoft came out with .NET MAUI post, which is going to come out in preview form this year, later this year, and in production form next year. And in there is opening up these couple of patterns, opening up the funnel for how we define the UI. And they pointed us on that article on towards this post, which is written by Thomas Bent. And this is a wonderful description of what MVU is and how it's meant to work. It's functional, and it has like these paradigms of some things it expects, like an init, how a program launches, and the model is essentially the state, and then you have an update function which updates the model, and anytime anything changes. Joe is saying, I seem to struggle with everything on my stream. That's the goal of it. We are writing, you're watching us write stuff as we are writing stuff without any prep, and things happen. So we are all learning here. That's perfect. So this is where Thomas ended, and then he said, what Microsoft is doing is not really MVU. And that's okay. It's just probably a difference in opinion, and maybe if you're a purist, you do not consider some of the things that you see to be really MVU, but at least it's productive. At least, I mean, I think like Flutter actually has a similar implementation of MVU. So that's what I'm going off, and we don't know anything more at this point. Like, this is an open source repository called Comet by Clancy, who works on Xamarin.Forms team. And I think the initial bits of what we see about .NET MAUI have started from this. So that's what we are going off, and here's our UI. So let's see what that shape view does. Oh, I get nothing, because I think I need to just do more. The shape view by itself just doesn't do anything. Can I do more? Let's go back to his video. I wish there was some documentation, like all of the things that are available, because I don't see it. Like what are some of the UI pieces available and what can you do? So I get the state. Do you want to expose more complex data type? Okay. Field property and add the state attribute. Sure. My binding object. How do I use the state? Sure, we can update the state. And this is where there is a little bit of conflict, because we seem like we are updating like the specific state of a property on the fly, and that's not quite what the purest MVU pattern is. You always create a full replica of the model, but it is what it is. Okay, that's about it. So, I mean, these are very early days, and he says it very openly, like, this is proof of concept. Do not use this, obviously, in production. Use at your own risk. But it's fun to play around with. Let's see what else do we need to do to make this thing show up. So he had a shape view and style graphics. Maybe I need that style graphics of the fill, because I just did one fill and it doesn't really do anything. Let's do, so on the rounded rectangle, if we do a style graphics of fill, maybe that'll do it. It's also funny like how we are writing these things. So let's do that. I'm really trying to open my mind. Like as a Xamarin.Forms XAML developer, this looks a little different. Oh, hey Ed, good to see you with your custom emote. Hello, hello. This is for folks like you. We are having to bend over backwards to invite web developers into the realm of doing Xamarin and doing XAML, because apparently you all hate XAML. So fine, we are going to let you write C# as a declarative UI to define your UI. Yeah, looks like React. Looks like React. Looks a little bit like Flutter as well. And this is all like the MVU pattern. The binding is through a state management. So, what is it? Style. What was it that he used? Style, then graphics. All right. And then, no. What do you want from me? Graphics? What was it? It is the style property of the rounded rectangle. Wait, does it need that? All right. Style, graphics, drawing, style, or fill. Yes, he doesn't like it when I do that. Graphics dot. It is really not liking it. Okay, style, what is it? What do you want me to do? Graphics? No. Drawing extensions? No. Joe, use React Native Ionic. You could, if you are already doing stuff in React for your web apps, by all means, go do React Native. But if you are doing anything else, And we've talked about this a lot, like what makes sense as a mobile strategy. If you are doing anything with Angular or anything with just straight up JavaScript or TypeScript, something like NativeScript works out because it integrates nicely with the UI, and you can share your assets, your routes, your not just the UI stack, but everything else between your web app and your mobile app. And Ed is trash talking XAML. Fine. It is verbose. I'll give you that, Ed. But like some of this stuff, this is no less verbose. I mean, it is just a different way of writing. And hang on, I gotta show you something. Where can I find it? I tweeted it, so that's probably the easiest way to find it. This is getting big. Where is this one? So this came out yesterday, and this is probably a precursor to what we are about to see with MVU. So even without Maui, they are introducing more and more ways of defining the UI without the XAML. So this is just like defining the C#, and this gentleman here is defining like this whole UI in straight up C#. And it ends up being actually more than what XAML code would be. But it's different, and you are always in a CS file and you get all the IntelliSense, so I get that. It's just different. And this is actually supported right now inside of Xamarin.Forms. You have always been able to define the UI in C#. I think they're just making it easier. Alright, Ed is saying style, graphics, drawing style.fill. That's what I was trying to do, and it wasn't liking me. Alright, let's try again. And this could be just like Visual Studio not catching up on a brand new thing. Drawing style.fill. I mean, this is not. Yeah, it's not liking it. This has got to be just a .NET rounded rectangle, and it's inheriting that in Comet graphics. How is he defining it? How does his work and mine doesn't? Fill horizontal. Do those things work? I mean, there's a lot of like smoking mirrors going on here. I'm not even sure if these things are exposed or we are using older bits that doesn't have it. You know what? Here's what I'm going to do. Keep it at that. And let's update our dependencies. Okay, Xamarin Essentials we're not using. This guy. Update. It's updating. Oh, could not update. Why? I see a follow. What's your name? I couldn't read that too well, but thank you for the follow. Detected downgrade from alpha. This checking compatibility. Blah, blah, blah. It's depending on .NET version, .NET standard version. Oh, reload. Okay, so the reload first needs to be updated. Okay, fine. Yeah, I'm gonna do a clean build. Okay, so that upgraded. Update this guy. Okay, so that did update. Okay, let's take out these guys here and let's Close my shape view. Alright, do you build now? And since this is new, like Visual Studio does choke quite a bit. That time it did build. Oh, it's already 11. I didn't even notice. I would love to keep going, but probably in a few minutes I do have to get our kid some lunch. Our kid wakes up super early, like at 6 in the morning. So by 11:30 it's almost his lunchtime. Did I not hit play? Run. There we go. Ooh, now it's crashing. What? Why are you crashing? This just ran just fine. Okay, let's all I did was update the NuGet packages. Okay, let's see where it's crashing. What? This is something. Color extensions background. This is not even me. It's trying to render the UI window for iOS. Alright. Maybe it's not ready. Okay, fine. I will take this off. Can't be the UI causing it to stutter. No, this is the Visual Studio I'm choking warning. Alright, let's kill the Visual Studio one time, bring it back up. Come on, restore. Done? Yep, done. Start. Yeah, no, it's crashing and it's got nothing to do with the UI. Oh no. Oh, and since this is new, I don't know if there's a way for me to go back. Go back to previous versions. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think he's showing some of the older versions. The one we had before was working, and then we upgraded. He could not be depending on Xamarin Essentials, surely. Alright, that updated. No, same error. What is he trying to do? Color extensions, background. Alright. There's no point in fighting like a framework level error. Let me close this and see. This was 0.273 beta. So if we go back, Visual Studio, where did you go? Oh, right there. So this is the older one. What was it? This one. Okay, so this was the 0.17364 beta. And does this one work? Yeah, it still works. All right, well, I think we we dug around, we understand, or at least I understand what like the purest MVU pattern is, and how this departs a little bit from that pattern in the way things are being done. But this is very new, and I'll poke around more. I will probably do another stream where I try to like this one here. What Clancy did was he was trying to build like a credit card UI where you enter credit card details and a bunch of stuff, and the UI is defined entirely in C# in a pattern where the binding is through the state and the model. I can do something similar. Maybe I can try to see if I can bring in more complex UI like some of our Telerik UI and see if it renders, but definitely more exploration is called for. But that's kind of it, and this is how Microsoft is for now thinking of doing MVU to support this in Xamarin.Forms. Early bits, but I think their initial implementations of MVU were based on this library. So definitely more stuff to play around with and see what we can do. But yeah, like I said, I planned on going for an hour today, so this might be the end of the road. If you are interested, take a look at these things. Start here, start at the .NET MAUI post that I showed you. This is from Scott Hunter, and it has links to almost all of the things I talked about, the MVU pattern. This is the Thomas Band post. There's the whole Elm programming guide, which is very much of a nice fit for this MVU pattern. So definitely more things to learn and understand as to how exactly this pattern is meant to work. And then dive into Comet if you're like me, and I'll play around more with this to see what else I can build. But yeah, exciting times, promising times, change for sure, and we'll see how this goes. All right, I think that's all I had or wanted to do. Let me take a quick look. Looks like our good friend Lila is doing Blazor. Ooh, she's into identity. So I might actually, if you don't mind hanging out with me or us, I might hand you over to Lila. You can see me do the magic right here. You can find Layla here. There she is. Start raid. So thank you folks for hanging out with me. I'll see you tomorrow right here on this channel. Until then, yeah, stay safe, stay productive, and I'll see you next time.